1942, about halfway between World War II and the end of the Great Depression, sort of as I was fading into the World War. And so she grew up with a sense of resourcefulness when she would like extend soap to last forever. I don't know how she did it, but she didn't like to waste things, and she passed also along of Bath and Body products to me. She'd always give me lotion, chapstick, stuff like that for Christmas. And I feel like I get my creativity from her. And then when she passed, I spent a lot of time on YouTube just kind of being sad, and I stumbled upon soap making videos because I didn't know that that was a thing, that people still did that, and I just got hooked. So that's what I'm going to tell you about today. First, we're going to tell you about the main processes that I've learned about to make soap on your own, then some of the common ingredients, and finally we're going to do a quick demonstration on making your own. So first of all, there are three main processes: cold process, hot process, and melt and pour soap. Cold process and hot process are completely from scratch. Melt and pour is usually made in a factory and then you get to assemble it yourself. But to the scratch ones, cold process and hot process start off mostly the same way. There's only a few variations. So first you have your recipe. You can either make it yourself or find one online. There's plenty of different options. And I also used a couple books called Soap Queen, Cold Process Soap, and Making Cold Process Soap by Anne-Marie Viola, as well as her Soap Queen blog. And one of the people that helped me get into this and start my first batch was my cousin Leah. So I interviewed her. So back to cold process and hot process. First, you'll take your lye and water solution and mix those together according to your recipe. And then separately, you take your oils. I'll talk about those later. And then you will mix those two together, usually with a stick blender, because by hand mixing, you'd be there for hours. So a stick blender does it in like a minute, and you're ready to go to the next step, which is if you want to color it, you separate out different parts, and then you put your color and your fragrance into those, and then you'll put them into your mold, and you can do so many different creative things. It's incredible. So now to the main ingredients. Oh wait, no, never mind. Okay, hot process, the only difference between that is instead of before you put your fragrance and color in, you'll put it on the stove and cook it so that it becomes fully soap, whereas with cold process soap, you just let it set and do it naturally. But then hot process, when you put it in the mold, it's usually thicker and it's a little bit harder to work with and get some cool designs and stuff. So for melt and pour soap, this is basically pre-made soap that you get at this. I got it at Hobby Lobby. It's about $10. And it's this. I don't know how to turn it on. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Hold it up to, like, point it at the projector. There you go.
Okay. So this is the melt and pour soap. It's just, this one's clear. I also have the white soap. And then those are a lot easier to just do creative things like different shapes, and they're easier to get out of the mold. And usually you don't usually add anything besides color and fragrance, and then your special mold and stuff. So for the main ingredients, pretty much any grocery store oil, like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, almond oil. Those are my favorite ones to use. There's also coconut butter. You can get it, they make it unscented too, but if you're doing a baked goods, you can leave the scented and it smells so good. Shea butter, argan oil, the jojoba oil that you find like in specialty soaps you find at the store. All of those, plus of course your water and lye, and there's actually two types of lye. There's potassium hydroxide, which is used to make liquid soap, and sodium hydroxide that is used to make the bar soap. And I've only used sodium hydroxide just because I haven't been interested in making liquid soap. There's also, you can use lard, which is what traditionally back in pioneer times and closer to now, before they had some of the synthetic alternatives, they'd use lard because that's what they had. Or Crisco, which is essentially We all know what Crisco is, hopefully. It's like a synthetic animal fat, usually made with some sort of vegetable oil. The other things you would need is your fragrances, which you can either use essential oils or buy some synthetic ones online. Usually more of the baked good ones that I like are synthetic just because they don't exist naturally. And you also have, for your colorants, there's lots of synthetic ones. I use brambleberry.com to get mine just because I like what they have. And you can even use stuff like an old makeup palette to color it, and you'll get a shimmery prettiness. Okay, so now that we've talked about the main processes and the main ingredients, we're going to go to our demo. So first of all, we have the clear soap that's cut up, and then this is basically what, although we're starting with this one, it'll basically look the same. And then you'll take your chunks and you melt them in the microwave about 30 seconds at a time, stir them together until they're fully liquefied. And then you pour them into a mold. I had these plastic cups, so pretty much anything works for a mold as long as it's not aluminum and it's easy to release. So then when you have the white soap liquefied, you melt it and then pour it in here, and then you add the color. And I did what is called apple green mica from Brambleberry. And then I did not put fragrance on this one, but you could put fragrance on right now too. And then I like to do really creative things, so I had some old soap pieces that I just cut up and kind of made a little abstract design. And you put that in as the soap starts to thicken and the top layer gets, that's why there's these kind of ridges on the top right here, because you let it skin over, and so that your soap doesn't sink all the way down when you're trying to do something like that. And then the next step I did was to take some clear soap and I colored it blue and put some apple pie fragrance in it, because that's what I had close by. And then I added some glitter to it. Hopefully it'll show up better like that. I added some glitter, just because it's pretty and blue that I had on hand. And then we take that and we put it on top of the first layers. So there's the difference between the first and the second layer. Sorry. And then all you'll do once you're done with this, you just want to pop it out of the mold. I don't think I can get it. And then you cut off this extra. You cut off the bubbles of the ridges and just make it a little bit more uniform. And that's pretty much it. This is kind of my signature one when I've made soaps. I call it snow globe soap just because I love snow globes and shaking them, and that's why the glitter too as well. That's about it. You can also, but if you want to, you can do like any type of color. I added some red to this so that it looks, I just loved it. And that's about it. So today we've shared some new information about soap making. We've talked about the main processes of homemade soap making, the usual ingredients, and made some ourselves. They say if you're passionate about what you do, you'll never work in a day in your life. Thank you.